Today's conversation is sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you want to learn more about how to make your 9-to-5 optional, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast, the #1 podcast for the strategies, tactics, and actions high wage-earners need for living an intentionally designed life of wealth and resilience.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in building the wealthy and resilient life that you're looking to lead and lead that even faster. And I'm your host, Billy Keels, and I am really excited about welcoming you back to another fantastic episode. Today's episode, especially if you are someone who is struggling because you're a high-paid employee and you are looking to, you like your job, but you're looking to do something else, just hold tight. This is going to be a nice, brief episode for you. So also, I want to start out by saying thank you so much to those of you who continue to download the podcast, continue to share the podcast with your family, with your friends. It's continuing to help to keep the podcast in the top 1.5% of podcasts globally. So I want to say thank you to you. Also, especially for those of you that are leaving your honest written reviews as well as ratings, keep them coming. We have lots and lots of ratings. If you want to do that, you can also check out a quick video we've included here in the show notes as well. And thanks for tagging us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. It means the world to us. And also, for those of you who want to find any of the previous 400 plus episodes of the Going Long podcast with yours truly, Billy Keels, just go to billykeels.com/podcast. Once again, that's billykeels.com/podcast. And you'll be able to find any and every one of those podcasts. So one of the things I get a lot of questions, or maybe you see me posting on LinkedIn, and even things that these are topics that I will tend to talk about in some of the discovery calls or pre-discovery calls for anyone who's looking to become part of the advisory program. It's like, hey, listen, it feels like it's too late. I'm well into my job, and I've got all these responsibilities, and I'm doing all of these different things. And, after a couple of different questions, it's really a matter of what is really happening in your life and how much of a priority is it to start something new, to gain more control over whatever aspect of your life you're looking to gain control over. So I thought I'd just share a little bit of a little bit more about my story, because I think this will help to give some perspective on things. So if I go back to, I'd been out of college for like 5 years. I had the opportunity in college. I had 2 college degrees, and I'd worked for 5 years. It was amazing. I had a chance to travel around the world. I traveled to 58 different countries, worked with Fortune 500 CEO levels and their direct reports. At the same time, I kind of had a couple things going on in my life as well, because about 7 years before that, I had an opportunity to live overseas, and that was I had an opportunity to live over in Valencia, Spain. So that was maybe I'll do a whole episode on that, because that's a whole thing in itself. But also there were times when I was missing friends' weddings. I was missing out on, other parts of life, uncles, aunts, wedding celebrations, or just, missing special events, even things that are not so nice to talk about. I was missing those events, and I really wanted to be able to do something else. At the same time, after 5 years in 58 countries, I was kind of physically exhausted, even at the age of 27. And I was looking to get, what can I do to get some downtime, just to kind of relax? I'd worked a lot. I was missing things back in the States. And at the same time, I just wanted some time for me. I wanted some downtime just to decompress after 5 years in 58 countries. At the same time, inside, I had this burning desire to go back to Europe. Because of what happened in 1995, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a separate episode on that, but what happened to me in 1995, which was one of the probably most difficult things that happened to me at that point in my life, I was able to find a silver lining in that. And so I really wanted to get back to Europe. I had this deep desire to get back and at least live there for 1 year. But at the same time, I was thinking to myself, I couldn't really stop working because I come from a middle-class family. So if I stop working, then at the same time, I'm going to not have any income. And so that's going to not be really, really cool. And at the same time, I saw there were a lot of people that were also doing 1 year sabbaticals. They worked, actually people who hadn't even worked. They came right out of college and they were taking a 1 year sabbatical before they actually started work. I worked for 5 years and got that experience and had a global exposure, global visibility and vision. And at the same time, I wanted that desire to stop. So one of the things I did to see if I was actually going to do it or not, I applied to a university in Paris, and it was the Sorbonne, or the Sorbonne, as I used to say. And so I was accepted at the university, which was great because then that gave me the opportunity to kind of decompress, take that 1 year sabbatical. But at the same time, I was really focused on learning three things. And I talked about that in the past, but I'll just reiterate those things for you. One, I wanted to learn more about the French language and culture. I wanted to learn how to salsa dance. Yes, salsa dance, Cuban salsa is what I ended up learning. And I also wanted to learn more about wines. Now, the thing is I really had an amazing experience. And it was so much to the point that even later in my late 20s, right? In my late 20s, I was thinking to myself, like, wow, it's kind of risky to do this. And at this point in time, because that was my mindset, right? And I had a similar thing in my late 30s, like at 38. And also surprisingly enough, at the end of my 40s or entering to the 50s. But I won't digress. I'll come back because after that 9 months, I was like, wow, I really want to stay in Europe. Like I was learning the language. My salsa dance was really cool. And I tested a lot of wine. But the thing is I thought as an American, it's going to be super simple. I'll just go out, I'll apply for jobs. So that's what I did. But I was wise enough to apply for roles of the companies that I'd worked with the previous 5 years. But I was trying to do things on my own. And I would just fill out an application online, and it was company X and company Y and company Z. And I would get into the process, and my French language was good enough. But the thing was I didn't have any working papers. And so that really stopped me cold because I couldn't actually stay. So this whole fallacy that I had in my mind as an American, I can work and live anywhere else. If that's the thought that you have, you know what? Send me a direct message on LinkedIn. Let's connect, and I'll tell you the whole story because it's a whole different ball of wax. But the thing is what I realized is that through the strong relationships, the deep relationships that I'd built for that previous 5 years, they helped me to cut through a lot of the red tape. And so I was very fortunate that I did get into a selection process. I had like 6 or 7 interviews and ended up working in the IT sector. Now, the thing of it was I had to leave Paris because I really wanted to stay there. And I ended up moving to the south of France, which was in a town called Montpellier. And so the thing that I started thinking about through this whole process is that was in 1 year, and it was like in my late 20s. So I thought I couldn't stop working. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. And in reality, it was a limiting belief that I had on myself because not only was I able to stay for a year, which was my initial goal, it's been over 2 decades at this point in time. And along the way, I realized that I could not only stay in Europe, and I've been fortunate enough to live in 3 different countries. So between France, Italy, and Spain. I've learned 4 additional languages: Spanish, French, Italian, and Catalan, which is a language they speak here in this area of Spain. And it would open my world to traveling and doing more things. And so had I let this negative belief stop me thinking like I can't do a year sabbatical later in life was what I perceived, I would have never had these growth experiences. I would have never experienced this evolution of myself and realizing that there's so many different things that are out there. So if you are struggling with thinking, hey, it's too late, I can't start a new hustle, I can't start a new thing because I'm in my corporate career, I've got kids, it's a very similar process that I went through. Just some of the variables are a little bit different. And so if I could do it, I'm absolutely positive that you can do it. So I want you to take this concept, I want you to take today's conversation. Maybe you know somebody who is feeling stuck or feeling like they can't do whatever. They can't start this new hustle. Well, yes, it's absolutely possible. You just got to let them know that there's someone else that's done it. You have to know that someone else has done it. So I want to leave that with you. I want you to be able to share this conversation with family, friends. Take this, talk about it, figure out where are you feeling blocked? What is it that you need to do to be able to move forward? So while you're doing that, I'm going to be here preparing for the next episode. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much. Today's conversation was sponsored by the Billy Keels Advisory Program. If you're looking to make your 9-to-5 optional and need some help, just go to billykeels.com/advising. Once again, that's billykeels.com/advising.